Now, Sunday is a very big day for the Eurozone. As French voters go to the polls, so too do the Greeks for one of the most important elections in the country's long history. The Greeks look set to punish their two main political parties, blaming them for the economic crisis. Fringe parties, both left and right, are expected to do well. In tonight's special report from Greece, Inigo Gilmore looks at how people have lost faith in mainstream politics as they struggle with day-to-day life. He gained rare and intimate access to one family in Athens who are close to breaking point.
In the turmoil of Greece's financial mess, family life is in chaos.
It's crazy.
Unemployment, drastic cuts, spiralling debts. It's no wonder they're feeling the strain.
Δεν μπορώ να σκεφτώ κάτι στο μέλλον, δηλαδή δεν βλέπω κάτι καλό. Δεν υπάρχει κάτι καλό να δούμε. Μόνο το σήμερα. Να βρούμε τα 5-10 ευρώ να μόνο να φάμε.
It's Sunday afternoon in northern Athens, and as a rare treat, the Papadakis family are having moussaka for lunch. Vicky had to get the mince from her mother. These days, meat is a luxury they can rarely afford. Neither Vicky nor her husband Kostas have jobs, but keeping their family together is full-time work, with 4 hungry young boys to feed. The flat only has 3 cramped, claustrophobic rooms. Even the play fighting has an edge to it. The kids may be young, but they're acutely aware of the family's difficult situation. Kostas often has to borrow pocket money from his eldest son Leo, given to him by his grandmother. It's not just his own son that Kostas owes money to. The bills are piling up.
Τίποτα δεν κάνω, δεν μπορώ να κάνω, δεν έχω το πλήρωσο, τι να κάνω. Συνομίζω ότι δεν σου λέω κάτι άλλο, ότι πραγματικά δεν έχω, άστο, ας το κόψουνε, τι να κάνω τώρα, εγώ πες μου. Το νέο είναι 8 μήνες απλήρωτο, άστο το κόψουνε, δεν με νοιάζει.
Like so many other Greeks, Kostas is in trouble with the banks after running up substantial credit card bills. And they've not paid their mortgage for about 2 years.
Κυριολεκτικά είμαστε και άφραγγιά σε αυτό, δεν είναι δικό μου. Είμαστε και άφραγγοι και άστεγοι. Ανά πάση στιγμή μας πετάνε έξω, έτσι.
The prospect of being thrown onto the streets is a constant source of tension.
Συνέχεια δεν ξέρεις και εσύ, ρε Βίκη, να μου...
Το τι άλλο και φως...
Καλά, εντάξει. Άλλο λέμε τώρα εμείς και άλλα μου λες τώρα εσύ τι να μου πεις τώρα.
Πάντως η ουσία είναι ότι εγώ από εδώ πέρα δεν θα φύγω. Είναι το μόνο σίγουρο.
The family's state benefits have been cut to just €300 a month, and they don't have any savings to fall back on. Kostas looks like a broken man. As voters go to the polls in Athens this Sunday, there are genuine fears that society is unravelling as the economy crumbles.
One of the most striking things about Athens these days is that even here in the centre of the city, in some of the wealthiest areas, you see shop after shop closed up. With the economic distress growing ever more extreme, people are being drawn to the political fringes. These elections, it seems, are less about policy than protest, and people feel they have much to protest about.
Those protests centre around jobs, crime and immigrants. Parties on the left, including hardline communists, have surged in the polls. So too have parties on the far right. It's the mainstream PASOK and New Democracy parties which have ruled Greece for many years who are being punished by voters. There's so much anger directed towards the two mainstream parties, they're forced to campaign behind closed doors. I went to an election event in the private home of a New Democracy supporter. The star guest is Miltiadis Vavitsiotis, who's standing for a seat in Athens. He admits his party faces a disillusioned electorate. His message is to vote responsibly to maintain political stability. The audience is receptive, but it's what's going on beyond these walls that really alarms him.
Do you feel that you're going to get really bashed on the streets?
I think that I'm going to be, called names from somebody, and it's not going to be worthwhile.
Because people are so angry with the party, your party?
People are angry with all politicians. It's not only directed to my party, it's directed to the whole political system.
He warns against voting for extremists, including neo-Nazis, who may win seats for the first time.
A lot of people want to punish the political system by voting these guys. I don't know whether they are going to reach the parliament. I hope they will not. I think it's going to be a great disgrace for Greece, the birthplace of democracy, to have neo-Nazis in its parliament.
Though disillusioned, voters are still likely to stick with the two mainstream parties. But it will be a huge challenge for either one to form a stable government. For all the election hype, Vicky is preoccupied with how she's going to put food on the table. Each purchase has to be carefully calculated. Even buying a couple of yogurts poses a dilemma. Outside, she shows me the few items she could afford. €10 doesn't go far. Vicky returns home with a popular jobs paper called Golden Opportunity. Scanning its pages has become a daily ritual for 1 in 5 Greeks now out of work. Kostas used to work as a taxi driver, but he no longer has the money required to cover upfront costs to secure a car.
Και τι ζητάς, φίλε μου, σαν καλά την εγγύηση τη βλέπω, σαν μη στοματής ζητάς για αυτό το πράγμα.
It's a dispiriting process, but Vicky is also prepared to give it a go.
Απογοητεύεσαι όταν βλέπεις ότι προσπαθείς να ψάξεις να βρεις μια δουλειά. Κάνεις τον κόπο και παίρνεις και τηλέφωνο. Και ο άλλος σε κλείνει κατά μουτρά, σου λέει εντάξει βρήκαμε, ευχαριστούμε πολύ.
Frustration over jobs is feeding tension in parts of Athens as people struggle with the brutal austerity measures. In the once prosperous Agios Panteleimonos neighborhood, we came across a group of immigrants clearing out a property. They were searching for scrap metal to sell. Bless is from the Congo. He was delighted to find a drain that could earn him €10. For this woman, it's the immigrants who are the problem. She runs this car wash business, but customers are now scarce.
Εκατομμύρια μπαίνουν κάθε μέρα. Κάθε μέρα μπαίνουνε μαύροι. Τι θα γίνει με αυτό το πράγμα? Τι θα γίνει?
She told me the immigrants were criminals who were taking Greek jobs, but it turns out an immigrant was working for her. She was one of several Greeks I met who said they will vote for the neo-Nazi Golden Dawn Party. Their pledge to expel Greece's 1.5 million immigrants has won them support. I went to a boisterous election gathering at their headquarters. The party uses violence to ram home its message. Here they were treading carefully, mindful of my camera. Anything resembling a Nazi salute was quickly checked.
This is the shop inside.
Next morning we were invited by Elias Panayothoros, the party's number 2, to visit his shop. He sells military-style clothing and nationalist paraphernalia. The business helps to fund Golden Dawn.
Hellas above all, with Greek flag and a double-head eagle with a military sign.
A t-shirt, Golden Dawn.
The party t-shirt with its Nazi-style emblem sells for €5. There's much excited talk here about how Golden Dawn will rid Greece of its immigrants.
If we start to force them to leave, which we will in a way, people will say that we're harassing them and stuff. So we will try to do it in a very legal way.
Very legal.
For the sake, for the good of the country, you know.
Mm. But what if it doesn't happen?
Well, if it doesn't happen, then we should be more aggressive.
It's no idle threat. The shop sells vigilante-style gear, balaclavas, batons, handcuffs. In this area, thugs from Golden Dawn have cleared out immigrants. Some apparently suffered severe beatings. But to many Greeks, Golden Dawn are heroes who provide protection when the police fail to do so. It's in working-class neighborhoods like those where the Papadokos family live that Golden Dawn is making inroads, tapping into the misery and desperation. Vicky and her oldest son Leo are visiting her parents, who they come to rely on for extra money. but they too are struggling.
Βλέπω ότι ό,τι δουλειές υπάρχουν, όλα τα βάρη έχουν πέσει σε εμάς. Φροντίζω τη μαμά, φροντίζω το θείος. Εγώ δεν έχω να πω ότι ξέρεις θα πάω πουθενά, να πιω ένα καφέ, να πω ότι μου περισσεύει τίποτα λεφτά. Αφήνω τους λογαριασμούς απλήρωτους να βοηθήσω εσάς.
Vicky's father is clinically depressed. Recently his state pension was cut and he owes thousands in debts. Even though he's ill, the debt collectors never let up.
Αν αφού τους είπα ότι έχει πρόβλημα και μας είπαν στείλει μας τα χαρτιά, τους στείλαμε τα χαρτιά με φάξ και πάλι με ένα τηλέφωνο. Βάλτε το μέσα ρε παιδιά, ταΐστε τον κιόλα.
The elderly may be suffering, but it's the younger generation they really fear for.
Γιατί από 35 και πάνω δεν υπάρχει ελπίδα να βρουν δουλειά και να μπορέσουν να βγουν ποτέ στη σύνταξη. Είναι πάρα πολύ δύσκολο, απίθανο.
People's lives are unraveling. The Papadokos family feel abandoned and desperate. Like so many others, they're in a mess and they can't find a way out.
One of the most iconic British breakfast cereal brands has been bought by the Chinese. Weetabix, which also owns Alpen and Ready Brek, was sold to the Texan private equity investment firm Lion Capital in 2004. The Chinese company Bright Food has now bought a 60% stake, which values the company at £1.2 billion. It wants to expand Weetabix sales across Asia. The chief executive of the Trinity Mirror newspaper group, Sly Bailey, is stepping down from her post. She'd been at the company for 10 years but faced a shareholder revolt over her £1.7 million pay package at a time when the company was shedding jobs across its regional titles. She's to leave the company by the end of the year. Quick look at the markets. At the close, the index of 100 leading shares was up 8 points, a rise of just 0.1%.
After the break, the best of today's sport and the latest on the Rangers' takeover bid. Plus the gasp over the Scream. Edvard Munch's iconic work sells at auction for a record £74 million. So where does it stand in the panoply of the world's most expensive art?